The centering prayer today will be a prayer for unity. Heavenly Father, hear my prayer for unity, that we may all love each other as you first loved us. May we act with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience toward one another, living in unity with you. May we lay down our swords, set aside our grievances, and forgive each other as you forgive us. Lord, lead me to take what you've given us: love, mercy, grace, forgiveness, and spread those in this world, lavishing them upon others in our lives. May your love bind us together in perfect unity. All this I pray through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
My mighty companions. I don't use the word mighty lightly. Recently, we've had so many challenges coming at us in such a rapid pace, which keep on compounding, leaving no time to process or to move through, let them move through us. And so many people are tired and hurting and scared. Recently, I've had a difficult time between the world news, the news in America, COVID, monkeypox, the climate. Feels like it's coming from everywhere as we look for comfort somewhere. Jan, if you could. So, in addition, many of my friends are having challenges, some dealing with serious pain, mental, emotional, physical. And recently, I've had health challenges myself. Now, to be honest, I really don't mind getting old, but at times my body is having a major fit. And at times, my mind, well, you've heard me say many times, maybe every time I've spoken, at times when I'm in my head, I'm behind enemy lines. In the midst of me going through this, I talked with an old friend, Nina, who shared a powerful question that her husband had asked her. And he asked, how do you stay hopeful in this world at this time? And he wanted to know, what do you do when hope wanes? And I wondered if that's been part of what I've been dealing with. I hadn't put it in that clear statement, but have I been feeling hopeless? Her posing that at that moment was so helpful. I became so energized. It took someone else, a friend, to get me out of my head and help me verbalize a response to a question that on some level I'd been struggling with. It took another friend to put something in my head a day or two before. And he recalled that when he was in his 30s, he went to a funeral and someone shared that the deceased was the kindest person that he knew. My friend's response back then was, how boring. I hope they say better things about me when I die. Well, today, in his 70s, facing the serious health challenges, he told me, I hope that's exactly what they say about me. So when Nina asked, how do you stay hopeful in this world at this time? For somewhere, I answered immediately with kindness. I recently had read an article by Maggie Edmondson who posed a question. What do I want to give myself to? Reverend Downer spoke at our church in July, said life is difficult, and that helps us realize our transformational power. That transformational power, that rebirth, is what we need in giving ourselves to a higher consciousness. Like the chambered nautilus, says Edmondson, we build new chambers to house new stages of our lives. This question, what do I want to give myself to, can be helpful as we consider how the latest chamber of our life will be furnished. So I ask you, what do you want to give yourself to? How do you want to furnish the chamber of your life at this time? I'll make it easier. Jan, can you put up the slide, the next one, which is the Unity's 5 principles? Look at them, spend a moment. What do you want to give yourself to? As thou seest, so thou beest, said Charles Fillmore. As thou seest, so thou beest. And don't we all want to be more loving, joyful, and hopeful, rather than tormented, hopeless, capitulating to what seems like the inevitable? When we feel disturbed and anxious, says Maggie Edmondson, we might ask ourselves if this is what we want to give ourselves to. When we're bitter or angry at someone, when we're in despair of the world, is this what we want to give ourselves to? Charles Schulz of Snoopy fame puts it in a less existential way. He said, life is like a 10-speed bike. Most of us have gears we never use. These days, life is asking us to use new gears. Actually, it's certainly asking me to use new gears. I can't impose that on you. And then when I thought about it, a lot of the gears are not so new. It's just I've not necessarily used them before in this way, and they certainly do need to be oiled. So life is difficult. That helps us realize our transformational power. The Buddha taught that our suffering arises from forgetting who we are. We are more than we appear to be. Think about that for a moment. You are more than you appear to be. You have inner resources, resilience, even in the midst of trauma, pain, and loss. Albert Camus, of all people, wrote that no matter how hard the world pushes against us, within us, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. And that is because we are unlimited spiritual beings, divine at our cores. In the 1920s, Unity writer Imelda Octavia Shanklin, she reminded us that the you of today begets the you of tomorrow. To improve the product, the you of today must transcend the you of yesterday. Again, to improve the product, the you of today must transcend the you of yesterday. Does the world need to do something different? Or do you and I? Reverend Debray Toms is clear. Yes, you and I. You and I, she says, were made for these times. There is a reason we are here today on this planet, wherever we are in this now moment. With our unity principles and our spiritual tools, we were made for these times to show up. I do not want to give myself to hopelessness. So the me of today needs to transcend the me of yesterday. But how? How do I do that? Well, I've thought some things that have recently helped me since I've been aware of this issue, things I've needed to be mindful of yet again in my 71 years, and pretty much all of which we heard or we hear at 11 o'clock on Sundays and perhaps other times during the week. I've also talked with some friends, have asked them how they maintain hope during these days. Actually, the question became more, how do you return to hope? Some talked about exercise, gratitude, limiting caffeine intake, increasing caffeine intake, spending time with spiritual readings, meditating, limited news intake, gardening, volunteering. Let me focus on a few that have helped me besides some of these, that have helped me, the me of today, transcend the me of yesterday, at least on some days. 1, let yourself feel what it's like hearing the news. Don't be afraid of the outrage you feel, the anger or fear, because these responses provide us with information about our wants and our needs and our values. They arise from the depth of your caring and perhaps from the realization of our interconnectedness with others. We just need to give ourselves kind and friendly space to receive an uncomfortable thought or feeling. If what we resist persists, what we feel, we can heal. Moving towards hope depends on us being aware of feeling hopeless. But, and this has been an issue for me, there's a difference between being aware and drowning or getting swallowed up by the feeling. Between being present with the feelings and letting them invade the mind or hijack or cripple us. Someone said this, I love this quote, you can visit a cemetery without building a house there. So feel it, be aware of it, and then, number 2, do something kind, generous, caring. Remember that that still exists in you in the midst of everything going on. It's honoring ourselves, our higher selves. Jan, if you could put on the next slide. Marianne Williamson said, hate has talked so loudly for so long. Greed has talked so loudly for so long. Liars have talked so loudly for so long. Love and kindness have got to stop whispering. By considering ways to help others, we take back some control in a world that feel overwhelming, in a world that we might not feel control. Where can you take back control? Nothing is too small. Like Jackie Woodside said last Sunday, small, simple things add up to a way of being. So never underestimate the big importance of those small things. In bed at night, I've started thinking of 2 instances where I was kind that day and 2 instances where I was kinded by another that day. Helps keep me on track, gives me a sense of control, gratitude, and sometimes it's very tiny but important things. Take the time to celebrate being kinded by another. A neuropsychologist, Rick Hansen, said, helping the brain to marinate on beneficial experiences. Let me say that again. Marinate on beneficial experiences helps promote brain changes. Slow down, let them sink in. He says the evolved brain is tilted towards suffering and craving. It's Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. So stay connected to the present moment. Connect with something you care about in this moment. Self-compassion might be a good place to start. Include yourself in the circle of kindness. Motivate yourself with kindness and encouragement, rather than criticism when feeling depressed or when feeling hopeless. As a member of our congregation told me, I guess it's all about compassion for ourselves too. Perhaps now more than ever. Okay, after kindness, here's one that won't shock you. Maintain and develop connections. Wow, community. In 1991, when I worked at Whitman Walker, I gave a client an HIV positive result. He hyperventilated. We need to keep him over to spend time with him and speak with him. It wasn't HIV that initially took his breath away. And many people were dying in those days when they got a result, sometimes soon after getting the result. What took his breath away was that he would have to ask another for help. He would have to reach out. I can't do it alone anymore, he said. Isn't that powerful? I can't do it alone anymore. We don't need to. And today we can reach out with text and email. Now, I also want to honor, it's not always easy when I'm feeling depressed. And I want to honor that it might be risky for some. Perhaps when they've reached out, they've been met with rejection, pain, or hurt. Only you can weigh one risk against the other, the benefit and the risk. But weigh it carefully. And ideally, weigh it outside of your head. Maybe it's a matter of calling silent unity. Maybe it's a matter of calling a helpline. Take in love from the people you can feel love from, those who you can gather to your soul, who in your life is life-affirming, who can listen without fixing, who can't. Doesn't mean they're not good friends or good people, but they might not be able to give you what you may need at that time. Who can remind you of who you are? Or pose the question to you like, what do you do when hope wanes? Then again, maybe you don't need to talk about the issue. Maybe you need a break from it, someone to give you a break, someone who can make you laugh or wants to cook for you. Obvious stuff, right? I've started staying overnight at friends' houses in the area. I finally realized I don't need to go to New York and Vermont. I have friends here who'd also like company. I live alone. Well, when the committee in my head isn't me, I live alone. So getting out of my head and getting out of my home helps me get out of my head. And having a guest helps them get out of their head. A friend from church, known as Jane West, and she wishes she could be here, but she's now down at the beach. She and I have been doing sleepovers at her home for over 1 year. We just had a 1-year anniversary. Happy anniversary, Jane. With Jane, I am not behind enemy lines as we talk about our challenges, our health issues, reminding each other of new, sometimes not so new perspectives and truths. And then moving on, refocusing on how we're growing, on laughing, on watching Netflix, on what she's making for dinner, healing each other as we are healed. We are engaged, laughing, processing things. And I am in my heart, not my head. We agree that this has been a gift of COVID, as we experiencing giving and receiving one energy flow. Because when the miracle flows, it flows both ways. Number 4, something that won't be a surprise, something I've had to deal with recently, rethink the words you speak. It can be natural to use dramatic statements these days like I'm broken or the world is broken. I have. Those words and interpretations have a powerful impact on how we feel and behave. While it's important to allow ourselves to name and honor our feelings, when we overstate circumstances that are already painful, our emotions escalate in intensity. In unity, we know the power of our thoughts and our words. So we might want to replace thoughts or phrases like, the world is falling apart, and not replace them with Pollyanna positiveness, but maybe with, I need to do something to improve X. Or I need to do something to make a difference to someone right now. Or what can I do at this moment to live from my heart? Because I am not falling apart. Speaking of which, I've had recent heart issues again, and a friend pointed out that I was saying, I am so disheartened to describe the setback. I see Chick's face. Isn't that amazing? I didn't realize it. I am so disheartened. Remember Lafayette warning us about watching the words which follow I am? Jan had put it on the weekly bulletin at the bottom. I am so disheartened. That's not who I am. So I stopped saying that, and I now say, this sucks. And that more than suffices, right? Then notice your self-talk. Again, the same message we hear all the time. Notice your thoughts, even if you're not speaking them. Principle number 3, everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. Whether it's the trance of unworthiness, of being less than, not enough, or feeling hopeless about the world, where you spend your attention is where you spend your life, says James Clear. Where you spend your attention is where you spend your life. Energy begets energy. Hopelessness begets hopelessness. If we give a bully our lunch money, they'll be back for more. Someone suggested that it was helpful to think of our self-talk as that bully. I loved that. Our self-talk as that bully, bullying ourselves. And that means, as Jackie reminded us last week, we need to notice how we use our minds. And a mind is a terrible thing to waste on a bully. In The Secret to Aging Well, the 88-year-old author, competitive runner and gym goer, wrote that I've been far too slow to realize that how we respond to aging is a choice made in the mind, not in the gym. That the 30-pound weight I can no longer attempt to lift reminds me that not far off is the day when lifting anything or running anywhere will be asking too much of my body. My brain would have to become the muscle I counted on to carry me through these final years with peace and purpose. Aging had to be more than what I saw in a mirror. After all, our thoughts are prayers and we are always aging. So, dear ones, who do you desire to be with your next thought, with your next word, with your next action? What do you want to give yourself to? I once quoted James Hollis, who wrote, "It's one thing to have a scared kid within us, as we all do. It's something else to turn the conduct of our life over to that child." Let me edit that. It's one thing to have a feeling of hopelessness within us, as many of us do. It's something else to turn the conduct of our life over to that feeling. As my friend Carol says, lack of hope doesn't mean it's real. Remember, thoughts and feelings are not the truth. But when we're hijacked by those feelings, when I'm hopeless, when I over-identify with them, the more I lose contact with my heart, with my empathy, with my compassion. And as Tara Brach says, that reactivity creates separation from our divine self. The daily word that Sharon read today says, "My highest spiritual purpose is to live from my divine nature." So, what do you want to give yourself to live from that divine nature? Our lives aren't dependent on life being a certain way. If they are, we're in trouble. Skillfully navigating this world means observing our thoughts, which create our perception of reality. How often do we hear that? In The Thunder of Silence, Joel Goldsmith says the whole secret lies in making the transition from a thinking human mind to a mind at rest in a state of awareness. Observe, witness. It's what meditation asks us to do. A mind at rest is aware that the voice of the ego is no more than a conditioned mind pattern, but a pattern that can hurt, belittle, reinforce our unworthiness. It's a pattern that can maim, eviscerate, and sometimes kill us or another, but it's a pattern, and we can change it. Skillfully navigating this world means not battling with our mind, but instead witnessing it. If, as someone said, life is a dance, mindfulness is witnessing that dance. Witnessing how we talk to ourselves about the world, human nature, our health, our ability to make a difference, or our level of hope. Hope. Remember the original Pandora? The original Pandora. Remember from grade school? Pandora is a figure from Greek mythology who was not only the first woman, but as an instrument of punishment, the wrath of Zeus was held responsible for releasing the ills of humanity into the world. Wow, I didn't know that. Another culture with another woman responsible for the ills of the world. Wow. Anyway, she was given a jar to take down to earth. She was told never to open it under any circumstances. Guess what? Curiosity got the better of her. She opened the lid of the jar. It released all the evils of the world, all manner of misery and evil, things like disease, war, vice, toil, hatred. Realizing her mistake, Pandora quickly replaced the lid. It was too late. One thing remained inside: hope, which would have allowed humanity to somehow bear its eternal misfortune. I don't believe hope is left in Pandora's jar. I can't. How can I believe that and say I believe what I hear from you on Sunday and at other times? Now, maybe hope isn't the issue for you, or feeling hopeless. Whether or not it is, Nina's response to my thoughts still might resonate. She emailed me after we spoke and she said, "You pick something and do something. Not to save the world, just to remain alive and human." Dear ones, find your own way to reclaim that part of you. Namaste. Every thought becomes a prayer. Now, time to join in silence together. Let yourself receive the support of the chair or the floor. Note your breath with a soft awareness. And breathe into the sweetness of your heart. And breathe out and send that sweetness throughout your body. Again, breathe into the sweetness of your heart. And breathe out that sweetness and send it throughout your body. Despite all appearances to the contrary, you are an unlimited spiritual being, for you are more than you appear to be. Notice the thoughts that flow through your mind as you respond to that statement. Don't judge them, just observe them. You are more than you appear to be. My highest spiritual purpose is to live from my divine nature. Again, notice the thoughts that float through your mind as you think on your highest spiritual purpose is to live from your divine nature. And finally, what do you want to give yourself to? Review the thoughts that went through your mind. Which thoughts do you want to bring back with you? Which thoughts do you want to take with you? Gather the ones that have the most truth attached to them and breathe them in. Gently return to your space with these truths. I live the truth I know. I live the truth I know, thereby ensuring that the me of today transcends the me of yesterday, as the me of tomorrow will transcend the me of today. And so it is.
And also, I want to really and truly thank Roy. That was really a very good message. And Dave, thank you for your music. The closing prayer today is from Matthew 7. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Amen.
We are so blessed here at Unity Center DC for extraordinary speakers, talented musicians who share with us each week their God gift, their message, their inspiration. And for us as recipients, I'd like you to take this moment and be grateful. If you want to express your gratitude by giving a gift to Unity Center DC, it's possible. We'll put up on the screen the options, but you can give online, you can mail a cash or a check to the address you'll see on the screen, so that we can continue this ministry, which has blessed us all. Thank you.